But no, they didn't attract fans. And in fact, nobody tried to attract fans. And this is one of the more fun parts of the story, is why they showed up. And I tell that story in my book.
Yeah.
They showed up uninvited to the party.
That's so crazy to me.
Yeah. Nobody, there was baseball, and everyone, it caught on. I mean, it caught on very quickly. But the first important thing that baseball did was, now, Brooklyn is a borough of New York now, but it was an independent city before 1898.
Oh, okay.
And what you have is this actually ended up really helping baseball. You have a big, powerful, rich city on the island of Manhattan called New York. 1,500 feet across the East River, you have this little tiny, sleepy kind of ferry stop that was booming, and it was catching up with New York really quickly. From 1820 to 1860, it goes from about 20,000 to about a quarter of a million. And it's ambitious, and it defines itself against New York, which it's still doing. I'm in Brooklyn right now, but in many ways defines itself against New York. So it's a natural rivalry in every way. And it was certain in the mid 1850s, around 1854, there were a bunch of people in Brooklyn that just formed baseball clubs, because it was at that point it was even called by many people the New York game.
Really?
There were four principal baseball clubs in the island of Manhattan, and they actually took the ferry to New Jersey to play in Hoboken. And if you're read any baseball history, you probably heard about this. There's a place called the Elysian Fields in Hoboken. It was like a private park. That's where they played, because there was no room in Lower Manhattan. And baseball was kind of steaming along. The best analogy is it was sort of like a country club sport. It's like there were people that were into it, and there were people that didn't know about it or care about it, and nobody watched it. In 1854, there's this great letter written by the president of one of these four baseball clubs, William Van Cott. He was a judge. And he wrote a letter to all the newspapers trying to talk up this game, baseball. And he says, we have at least 3 clubs with 90 regular players. And that was his brag, his boast. That was the state of baseball in 1854.
That is crazy. Yeah, like almost non-existent, it seems like.
Exactly. Insignificant. 99% of Americans have never heard of it. So, but then Brooklyn, a bunch of guys in Brooklyn decide in 3 or 4 different places, we're going to form these New York-style baseball clubs, and we're going to beat them at their game. That's sort of a whole sense of competition with this old city. And Brooklyn is an energetic young town, a city that's putting a lot of effort into it, and it pays off. And in 4 years, they feel like they're good enough to beat the New Yorkers. Only 4 years. And in 1858, they challenge the New York clubs to a best 2 out of 3 all-star series.
Ooh.
Yeah. And this was a totally new idea, and they were going to have it in Hoboken, which was basically just a big grass park. And then they began to realize about a month before that this was attracting a lot of public attention. They could feel the buzz. And for the first time, like, regular people were getting interested. And they ended up moving it to a horse racing track in Corona, Queens, because there was a railroad station there, and because the horse racing track had about 5,000 seats, and it had things like bathrooms. So now at that point, when people were starting to cover baseball in the 1840s and 50s, they would mention if a large number of people were watching.
Mm-hmm.
They thought a large number of people was maybe 50.
Oh, okay.
It would say, like, there's 50 or 75 friends of the ball players, or the couple of bookies or something like that was watching.
Right, like a Little League game today.
That was remarkable. That was remarkable, yeah. It would be like, if you were playing a pickup softball game and 100 people were there watching, people would say, hey, well, what's so interesting about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so how many people show up to game 1 of the 1858, what was called the Fashion Course Series after the horse racing track? 10,000 people.
Wow.
And it blew people's minds, and the descriptions are funny to read. It was just chaos.
Uh-huh.
And the other fun part was that because they were going to mess up the dirt infield of the horse racing track, they charged 10 cents for groundskeeping.
Mm.
And they were thinking they would charge maybe 500 or 1,000 people 10 cents. But they charged 10,000 people 10 cents.
Yeah.
And, well, this did not go unnoticed by the business community in Brooklyn.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. that there's this thing that people will pay to see. And 4 years later, a businessman who has nothing to do with baseball, because baseball's not interested in fans yet, and or selling tickets or anything like that. A guy named William Kammeyer, he was actually in the leather business. He builds a sports facility in Williamsburg, which is a short distance from where I am now. And he includes a baseball park, a beautiful park with an infield, an outfield, dugouts, changing rooms, stuff like that. And he tells all the clubs, you want to play here, no problem, for free. But I'm charging admission.
Ah.
Yeah. So it took about half a season for the ball clubs to go, hey, wait a minute. Somebody's making money off us.
Yep.
And that's really where the boulder starts rolling downhill of professionalism. Wow,
that's so crazy. So it really started out of the rivalry is what kind of got everybody together watching this, and then they're kind of
exactly, and it brought all this energy into baseball, and it led to the formation of hundreds and hundreds of clubs. And visitors or tourists who would come to Brooklyn in the late 1850s would say it's like there's a craze or a mania for baseball here. Everybody's playing everywhere.
Wow.
And so what you're seeing is, and you read about the fans, and you read these descriptions by journalists who are shocked and speechless, in some cases disturbed by how many people care who wins a baseball game.
Yeah.
And they're actually disturbed by it. And you're laughing to yourself because you understand this phenomenon of fan identification and rooting.
Yeah.
But people within baseball don't understand it.
Man.
And they're not sure they like it.
Oh, really?
Well, they thought, Henry Chadwick was a great baseball journalist who was interested in promoting baseball and was kind of the godfather of baseball in the early days. In 1860, there was a championship series between two Brooklyn clubs that again attracted like 5-figure crowds. And he, in his coverage, he's shocked and disturbed by things like booing the umpire and cheering and all the strong feelings. They disturbed him. And he was afraid of gambling, and he thought that, this is kind of funny, the only thing that would explain these passions is that these people had bet on the game.
Right. Got to have a financial interest.
But they didn't. He actually literally didn't know what he was looking at.
That's crazy.
What he was looking at was modern fandom being born. You can literally trace it to these games. And I do it in the book. I talk about how the crowds changed and how they got bigger and how they had different kinds of people in them who had nothing to do with baseball and didn't know the players. And then the fact they were willing to pay. And this is really, the event becomes something else, right? It's not a game anymore. The fans become the event. And this is really it's literally the beginning of the modern sports fan.
Yeah. Well, it does sound, kind of crazy when you put it like that like these people are going to take their time and, travel to this place, to this field and watch strangers play a game that they're, it just, why would they expect anyone to do that? But now it's like,
and then, of course, and that changes everything, right? So now there's newspaper coverage. And, one of the things that I use to try and explain this to people, the newness of this and the weirdness of it is, we have games that nobody watches, right?
Sure.
So, if my aunt's playing racquetball at the club, nobody cares. Or some kids are playing hopscotch outside of my house, who cares, right? The newspaper's certainly not covering it.
Yeah.
But what if you went outside and there were thousands of people and serious people, adults, watching, keeping score, betting, and rooting?
Yeah.
At this point, it's news, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the game; it's the fans, and this is sort of the beginning of the beginning of baseball turning into something else.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. This is my dog Murphy, and these are dog treats. Now I'll give Murphy one of these dog treats, and all you have to do is press the like button. Just press that little like button right down there at the bottom of this video, and this sweet, adorable, cute little puppy gets a treat. All thanks to you. Alright, you did it? Okay, I believe you. You said you did it. There you go, Murph. She got that treat because of you. Now, I'll eat one of these treats, And all you have to do is click that subscribe button right there, pointing to it. Just click that subscribe button, subscribe to Curiosityness with me, Travis DeRose. Get lots of good video, and I'll eat this treat. All right, you did that too? That's not very good. For real, not very good.